You never know how much I'm going to be engaged in playing in the future. Story so far, which I think is important if, well, you know, with the length of these videos, people may need breaks from them anyway, even if I'm pumping them out. During the first age, things progressed kind of slowly. I'm stumbled around trying to figure out what I wanted to do, but things ended with a big bang. France finally took over their territory back from the English, and the Spanish went to war with the English as well. Well, actually, the English went to war with the Spanish over Flanders, and the French joined in that war, sort of, or entered into their own war, fought their way through. And so the English got a really big beat down. You can see their prestige is not in good shape. Their economy is not great. Their reaction to that was to start a Protestant religion. No one else is really had really started a state religion outside of that. And well, just by the order of events and whatever, Henry VIII came up with his plan to recover the economy that his father left him that was in shambles. Things are just all wrong here, aren't they? And yeah, so there you have it. Now, you've got some rebellion and whatnot going on in England. That's a problem as well that has to be resolved. Meanwhile, what else is happening? France and Spain have blundered into, or France and Austria have blundered into a war over Savoy. France declared war on Savoy without really realizing that, yeah, the empire still exists and yeah, they're going to defend themselves. So far Austria is kind of winning that war, but we'll see. It's still up in the air. It's not settled policy yet. Spain is considering a war with Genoa and trying to prepare for that. Turkey is planning to go to war with Venice. And all of this is very interesting because both Genoa and Venice are within the imperial boundaries, actually. No, Venice is not. Okay, that makes sense. But Genoa is, I think Venice is not. See, the borderline goes this way, but it seems to be missing here. But yeah, it shouldn't be. Even though Austria took the Venetian territory under probably the auspices of the empire. Oh, wait. Oh no, that's a Catholic marker there. Okay. Poland is really in the doldrums. I screwed up some things, not properly managing my cubes, partially because I didn't realize there was a rule in place, but they're in really horrible shape, and kind of are at the bottom of the tier. You know, you look at the victory points, and you could say, well, you know, they don't look that much with Austria. Yeah, but the thing is, even though they're not gaining, you know, they're not doing worse than the rest of the bottom half in terms of prestige, their nation is just not growing. Now, you could argue that Austria kind of isn't either, and England, after this setback, actually went backwards. It looked like they had a huge opportunity in Flanders. That didn't work out for them at all well, and they ended up losing their French possessions finally, and in really bad shape. Spain, heavily in debt. Not a great time to go to war, but, well, there they have it. The French do not have an actual king right now, although I think, no, it's a Polish king. Okay. This is going to pursue their war aims. They could have tried to create the Reformation spreading. I don't want to do that quite yet. So I'm paying a cube to move my army in. Back in to face the Austrians. This was kind of the plan. I got to take a peek at the Austrian cards, see if they have, I think I have a reaction card of some sort. I have a tactical retreat. That happens during battle. In case I have to leave, it makes things easier. I have a big Imperial army over there, though, that will help defend me here because I'm within Imperial territory. partially. And the French do not have such a big army. They appointed a good general, but I'm going to play a reaction card, throw another cube, and a bunch of money, and get myself some mercenaries. So now we have 7 military units up against more total, well, 8 if you count the artillery, up against more total for the Austrians, but we get 6 dice versus 5. I've got the capability to reduce that. 6 dice versus 5. Both of us have janissaries. I have artillery. Artillery is not good enough. I want to win this war. I hate burning my cubes, but there go the veterans. This is 1 die roll. I dropped the Austrians down to 3 dice for 1 roll only. But that 1 roll is the first one, so it might be important. So here's the 6 dice for the French, and we do 3 5 hits. Some of the Imperial levy go away. And now what were we at? We were at 5 minus 2 is 3 dice. Getting 2 hits on the French. The French will of course take a mercenary with that. Look at that French manpower destruction. Now, the French are out of their bonus card. It's now at 6 dice to 5 dice with 4 6 armies to 5 and an artillery. I think the Austrians are going to stick around another round. We didn't take any casualties. We really want to win this fight. And yes, we would regain a casualty point and be able to come back at a stronger point. But we're going to fight the French 1 more round at least. Okay. All these dice could have counted, but they only have 1 artillery. So that's 3 hits on the Austrians. And those 3 units are still there for generating casualties. 2 4 hits on the French. So we did more damage to the French again, and the French army is really looking weak over here. Whew. Well, see, if the French retreat, they lose another military unit. They don't have this whole card that the Spaniards have. The Spaniards will stick around. The French are sticking around because we got too much. Plus, we got money. We can build another army if we need to. Of course, so can the Austrians. Ooh! That is 7 hits, but only 2 of them actually accumulate. Okay, I'm going to lay units down. That's enough of those to kill Maximilian, which is going to cause issues. Deck 1. Does Austria have a king they can put in play? They do. We're going to bring good old King Brody in, or are we going to fight? We'll hold off that decision until the full dice are out there. Because it's 5 dice that the Austrians get to roll. And they do 3 full hits. The Austrian army's been destroyed, however. 3 full hits on the French. So has the French army. Oh, boy. Brutal, man. Brutal. So nobody gets the advantage of a victory. Huh. I'm going to have to look up victories because, you know, I think I've been cheating or forgetting a rule. Let me make sure that I have everything here. Proclaim a winner. The winner gets one of those. Okay. I just wanted to make sure there wasn't a prestige advantage to winning battles, like there is in empires in arms. Well, that was rather violent. Mercenaries are gone. I think we proclaim Brody our king. Can always use him militarily. If one side, and Austria has available manpower, France does not, but they can switch some over. The problem is they don't have cubes to handle everything, so it's kind of ugly for them. But if one side has an army and the other doesn't, ooh, but the French have an army, then that one side can declare victory. Not a total victory, but they can declare one of the victory categories and demand some level of concessions. Right now, there's not really any concessions in play, but if the Austrians win, they can get a peace, which is what they really just want. They didn't want this damn war. With most of these big multiplayer strategic or grand strategic games, generally, it's not to your advantage to fight a war with another player. And it makes perfect sense for, you know, France to go pick on Savoy and take it out, or Spain to try to do that to Genoa, or Turkey to do it where they're going to do it to Venice or whatever. But when you come into conflict with someone who has the resources of a player country, and these dynamic NPRs don't count. They do not look like they're powerful enough, as we saw with Naples. There's nothing all that impressive about them. When it comes to actually grinding up against another player, it is not pleasant for either person. And that is true in the old EU. You know, unless you've got somebody you can pick off, you know, like the English for the French, that was an easy call for them, really. They were already tied down and whatnot against Spain. But it is really painful if you throw yourself into a situation where you're going to be fighting another player who has anywhere near your kind of power. You just end up making yourself weaker in relation to everyone else. Now, we see the winners of that war against the English, they're in the lead. So it's also the case that the gains can be the greatest in this kind of situation. And I think we're going to see that start very soon with the Spaniards. They don't have a lot left to play around with. They've picked their event. It's beginning to feel like it's time to at least build my army in order to go to war with Genoa. Now that war with Genoa is going to put a hard call on Austria again as the emperor. Do they want to support the empire, or are they going to just, you know, let the Spaniards have their way with northern Italy? This is the kind of thing, and we haven't gotten the card yet, if there is one. I'm not seeing a Charles V reaction here, right? You know, the fact that Charles V had Spain and Austria meant that they could intervene as the emperor in areas they wanted to. They didn't necessarily have to follow the Spanish ambitions. He had a multi-tiered ambition level. Maybe that's represented by player-to-player alliance. Maybe that's the only way to represent it in this game. I have not seen an event that does so, but it might be in the second half of this. The second half of this first half of the Second Age events. I don't know. I didn't look too closely. Like I said, the Protestant Reformation slipped my mind. So, you know, I expect these things, but not all that hard. First move, though, is going to be to forge an alliance with Florence. This is an alliance France already has. France was not able to call them into war for various reasons. Although they certainly could have called, like, the reason France wasn't able to call things into war was they declared war on Savoy, and they would have had to pay to bring troops in against Savoy. Austria declared war on them as the emperor in a reactive war, and I don't feel like calls to arms apply in that. Now, I'm not positive. It might have triggered a whole set of, but it's not a normal declaration of war, offensive, defensive type of question. That's the whole problem. It doesn't really fit into either when Austria enters the war as the defender of the empire. So that's why none of the alliances came in. But if Spain enters, we could bring Florence directly into the war, but that'll cost us something. Two diplomatic cubes, I think, which we're not going to have. So maybe we don't want to do this, but we do because the Italian goals say that'll get us some points down here. So, what was I going to say? I was going to say it's going to cost, well, Florence costs 3. Ferrara could also be an ally and would only cost us 1 cube. Why not save a cube? And that's doing a diplomatic action, forge alliances. It doesn't require that I lose these. So I'm going to take Ferrara as an ally down there. I'll move things forward. Again, though, every step you take, every move you make, every step you take is something that could lead you closer to a bunch of people passing, and oh look, I'm not going to be able to do shit this turn. So if you don't prioritize the things you really want to get done and you hold them off to the end of the turn, which is often the case that you want to do with military actions or with big sweeping moves that might take people by surprise, the more you delay, the more likely you're not going to have the time to do what you want to do. Although, if you're getting this alliance, maybe that's more important. I don't know. English very quickly, just raise their stability. It's cheap because it's so shitty. Austria raises a new army, putting them in the position where, if things were to end right now, they'd be able to force peace on the French. Poland drops a cube here so that they can subjugate Warsaw next time. Of that delaying actions, someone like Turkey, who has a big advantage in terms of number of cubes, things they can do, is in a potentially problematic situation if a lot of other people don't want to or can't do much. I got to act soon, right? I built my army, I think. I don't know if I did. I don't have much of a navy there. Yeah, I think I got to build my army this turn. Well, I'll look and see. I'm doing this because I'm throwing away the prestige, but I am actually going to research. That's 2 cubes. Oh shit, no. Is it just 1 more or is it 2 more? No, it's 2 more of a matching type. I wanted to do, oh no, I can do that. 2 more. I'm going to take benign diplomats over here because I have some things that'll help with that. That gets me 2 prestige for getting it, but it gives Poland a prestige because I'm doing their thing, man. I got to count that the game's that the rounds are gonna last long enough that I can go to the war that I want. If it looks like I can't go with Venice, maybe I can go with something else. Mediterranean supremacy says, well, that's not gonna happen. Unfortunately, everything would put me at war with Spain if I moved on it. and I don't have that opportunity. I wish I could grab Corsica and use that for the Mediterranean goals. It's odd that, like, so it makes perfect sense that I would need Malta to go further west, but then they have Baleares and Sardinia in there as possibilities as well, which feels a little wrong to me. I guess if I owned all of North Africa, which historically they at least have it vassalized at some point or another. But yeah, there's really nothing that I can take as a goal there otherwise. And this, I'm planning on kind of setting up to move into the Balkans as well. But with multiple goals and all those cubes, you know, I got the cubes to do what I want to do, but the other players may just not let me. All right, time for a break. It at least partially ameliorates the problem of one person with lots of cubes and other people without that many. The person with lots of cubes, first of all, they can save some cubes over for their later turns. No problem with that. But they don't have to do stupid little dances. Like the Poles here, they feel like they're pretty close to doing nothing, but I got to take another turn to reorganize to get this one cube over into my diplomatic so I can play my subjugation, and then I can pass. You know, there's quite a few steps that I have to take. Plus, the fact that so many countries are at war. Poland's going to pass sometime soon. I assume England is probably going to pass fairly soon, but I think I'm going to get to roll a significant amount of my military capability out with the Turks. And here's the thing. I don't have to take out all of Venice, but I sure would love to. Taking out parts of Venice is not really is not as impressive because this gets me into the Italian wars thing. If I can take this out, that's going to be an expensive fight though, and it's going to take quite a navy to ship my troops over. So I don't really know, but if I can conquer everything, hey. And actually, it's going to take multiple attacks because I have to attack Crete too. Taking the capital isn't enough. I have to take everything, which is Crete, Zara, and then 3 provinces here in Venice itself. And Brescia. Yeah, this may be too big a thing for me to bite off. In which case, geez, maybe I should be doing something else. Like maybe I'm better off taking the papacy down. Boy, that should cause some kind of issues. I wonder what they would be. I mean, you had the Avignon, the Babylonian captivity in Avignon. So, I couldn't take the papacy anyway. I've got Avignon there. Yeah. I don't know. Options are still open. It might be Spain I go after, right? You know, if I can take Malta and Sicily, the vassal states. But these vassals are part of Aragon. It's going to be pretty hard to force Aragon into it. Not really. Not really. I don't think. I'm not sure how how peace with vassals works. Anyway, I played this. This goes away. And for real, it's time for a break. Replenishing manpower is exceedingly expensive. Now, what's this? Move an army in front. Yeah, this is the interception type card. Development. I'm making sure I don't have a card I want to play because I'm going to probably do a reorg, get myself enough cubes. 1 cube gets you 3 armies back in the available slot. And then another cube allows you to build your armies back. I can build them up in Army 2 up here. I don't have a general. I think I lose my general because I lost my entire army. Hey, you might be able to reposition them. Let me check that. Okay, the closest thing I see here is minor action. Generals that are replaced without any available army map to relocate to must be discarded. I could not find anything that directly puts the general of a destroyed army. And you could make an argument, you lost your army, you're sacked, right? But I couldn't find anything using the index that indicates that. Of course, you might be able to have an army without any troops. I'm not sure. But I'm not going to hunt down the roll. I'm going to move the general over there. I know I threw one away earlier, but that wasn't that important. This is highly important because it's France, man. France must win. Speaking of French, the word for the day is déjà vu. The feeling that you've been through this shit before. Or had this shit before, whatever. Yes, I defecated while I was breaking. So now the real question is, do I want to play like this development card? Not particularly. The war is more important. So I think I take a reorg. Do I have a general? No. If I had another general, I could make him the ruler. I can't convert Brody to my king, or no, John to be my king. So I'm going to do this and shift 2 over. That gives me not as many options overall, but I need to be able to generate my war. But if I play these 2 to regenerate troops, that only gets me 6 troops. That puts me about on par with the Austrian army. Now I have an artillery and I have some other advantages on my side, including a good general, but then I can march in, but that doesn't let me siege. If I only use 1, that puts me at a disadvantage in troops. So there's like 3, 4, 5, 6 units total for the Austrians, but I may want to chance that to save an extra cube so that I can siege, because my artillery will let me take Savoy's capital if nothing else. Not really sufficient. I needed more, but I've been foiled by this war. And there's the problem with going to war, especially with another player, is that it's not going to work out as well as you hope. Spain, building up my navy, etc., is going to be rather expensive. I think I'm going to trigger another trade event and see what comes of that. $2 is what came of that, which ain't great, but, you know, I don't know. There wasn't much I could do with that diplomacy cube. It would be useful next turn, whatever. The biggest risk involved in all of this is that the turn runs out. But there appear to be a fair number of people who are still trying to push their wars forward. How many passers are there? I see 2 up there that probably want this thing to end, but Austria can't really afford to pass because they're at war. So we'll see. But other people are running down pretty low. Only Turkey and Spain really feel like they're going to be able to keep the turn going for much longer. Players ain't enough in a six player scenario. Now, I don't know what the breach is here in terms of where we hit, but like 5 players, I'm not sure how it flows with 5 players. I don't know if we go to the lesser or greater or what. I just don't know. I just know that we pay out the most in this, which means it's the 4th player who triggers the end of the turn. Caught that the English have an illicit marriage here with Bremen. They should have that counter there instead. I was checking to see, hey, what can I do here? I can forge an alliance still. But do I really want to forge another alliance? I don't think so. I think what I want to do is a reorg and move my cubes over here to admin so that, again, I'm not going to be involved in the Italian wars, but so that I can get my stability up another one. That way I'm only paying a couple of bucks. I'm not paying more. This is just a problem, though. Do I want to solve my problem instead? How much does this cost? This costs 3 to increase my stability. I'll go with the stability increase. It's what I decided on. It may be a bad choice, but I don't want to analyze every choice completely as to, I know I've been doing it, but I've been doing it poorly. And the game flows better for me if I don't have to try to figure out the gaming mechanisms. And I just play by gut. And if gut doesn't work, that's too bad. So pissed that they got forced into the war when they did. They wanted to do a subjugation. They can't do it. That's going to hurt them in the Italian wars. Looking at, I don't want to do anything yet. I don't want to move into here prior to the French moving in. Not sure why, but I don't want to spend my 1 cube on that. I could convert 1 more over. So I start looking at events, and I'm like, well, none of them give me anything except the inheritance of Masovia, which could actually give me an administrative event, which would allow me to shift 2 additional cubes to military. That might be a good idea. I don't know what else I can do, basically, at this point. So replace any Polish ownership or vassal on Warsaw with a Polish truce token instead. Poland gets a claim, and I get, no, actually, I give Poland inherits Masovia. A small town to Warsaw, this doesn't really hurt me, develops to a large. There isn't a small town on there. If there's a Polish vassal there, it becomes a Polish small, and I gain an administrative. I think this is my best option available right now. So I get a cube that I'll be able to reorg over. And Poland now owns Masovia. However, they don't have, and this doesn't really help them income-wise because the first vassal gives them a bonus anyway, they don't have the large towns that they need to achieve their victory requirement. But maybe they can develop those out. I don't know. So far, Poland's just so-hosed. But the other thing that happens is Poland has the option to take this as their king, which he's the same as their prior king, and we'll do that. This is Sigismund II. And it's fine. It gives me a healthier king. So that's just peachy. I don't know what Poland can do with their military power. I don't have an army. I can't do anything about that. I don't know what that's going to do. Again, we'll find out. I could reorganize to subjugate. But the thing I was going to subjugate is gone. Well, it's mine now. That's fine. Wasn't really counting on somebody handing it to me, which is why I did what I did. Is there some other vassal I can subjugate? Cubes equal to the base tax plus any opponent cubes in the area. All right. Let's figure. I have, this is not, and I don't have an alliance. Over here I have 3, 4, 5, 6. What is this worth? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. A lot more. All right, so I'm not going to get Lithuania until I get more cubes there. Over here, though, I have it. But that's just an ally. It's not a vassal. Oh, wait. No. Ally is what I want. Do I have an income of 8 or more? I do. I will vassalize my ally, which is the knights here. Could I go for Bohemia? Sounds unlikely, but Bohemia is pretty small, actually. That's 3. It's got to be more than 3. All right. Is there a Bohemian? I don't see anything else of Bohemia. So I could take either Bohemia or the Knights. Now, with this, not good. Defeat the Knights is the one I have. The one for the Jagiellonian Alliance is not available right now, so I don't want to do that yet. Owner vassalized 3 or more provinces in Prussia. Sounds good. We just We just got handed the opportunity to reorganize. Not getting rid of any cards. I have money. I could buy a card. At least by the way I read these rules. Gotta look up what I'm allowed to buy. I think it's top 5 from any deck. From any discard deck. It's not something I remember much. You may pay... no. It's not just buy. And I need my cube too much. But things are really looking up for Poland now. I just gained Masovia, which is getting me in the range for this. I'm going to get the knights. Wow. Great stuff is happening. I'm going to get the cubes from the knights. Yay. Turkey incurs another layer of debt. Built up my navy. I forgot I had my ruler counter still here. I took that off because we had a change of rulers. That's something, I mean, it could legally have happened, but it's something I gotta keep an eye on because my ruler should be available for me to redeploy. So, what do I have right now? I've built up my army here. I don't think I'm gonna go to war with Venice, actually. It doesn't really do what I need. I don't think I can win against Venice, so I'm thinking I go against the papacy, which is why I built up my army. Now, let me just check. I don't see anything. Oh, capturing Roma. When you own Rome, you get a, oh boy, you get a cardinal in that space. I hope only Catholic players can have cardinals. So if I capture, oh, but I won't get all of Rome. But Ancona is easier for me to take, and then I could actually push forward against either Ferrara, Firenze, or against the Austrians, if need be. Yeah, so I paid a cube and I took some debt on, built up my army. Might go... Built up my army. Because I might just land an attack here on Naxos. I just don't think I can take the Venetians on yet, but we shall see. I don't need as much of this. Hold on. Let's get rid of a boat and build another army here. Because I was planning on taking on Venice, but that's just too much right now. Is there some place here that I could attack? No, this is Venice itself. So yeah, so I'm looking at maybe taking Naxos this turn, which doesn't count towards my Mediterranean supremacy, unfortunately. Crete, Cyprus, Malta, Sardinia, and Baleares. Well, we're not working towards either of our goals. The opposing side could be, I could attack Crete. I could probably get it. Like, if I succeed in taking Crete, that helps me towards that. What else do I need? I have Cyprus already, so I would get this. Yeah, let's go for a war against both the papacy and against Venice when we declare war. Oh, we don't have a claim against the papacy. Oh well. Got to take another step, I guess. But we'll see. If things are ending quickly, we just go for Venice. Our fleet's not big enough to carry this whole army across, but it'll do something. You know, maybe I'm being stupid. I just spent a cube to replenish my army. What about mercenaries? I got money, still, after the last mercenary action. Mercenaries, hiring mercenaries is a... I don't know what it is. I think we want to do both. Mercenaries 1725. I bet you I get them with regular troops. 25 is here. I don't see mercenaries here, so it's just going to be here. They're expensive, but do not count against your military or manpower connection. They can only be deployed in armies, and they're recruited as regular with recruit actions. You can recruit 3 of them, and they cost $2 more, so double the cost for infantry. And given their maintenance costs, I probably don't want to recruit more. Yeah. So if I'm going to do a recruit units, I want some regular units in there. I may buy myself some mercenaries to back it up, though. And I may buy, like, I don't know. I've got an artillery, so there's that. I have a general, I'm good. To Spain. Spain needs to start their war soon. How are they going to do that? I got no fucking claim on Genoa. That was the whole plan. And I've used up... Oh, Jesus, I've used up nearly everything. What am I going to do? Did I screw up royally? I believe I have. I don't want the stability loss for a declaration of war where I don't have a claim. What did I fucking do there? I spent my damn diplomacy over here is what went wrong. Now, everybody should get some kind of casus belli against the Turks for taking Rome, if they do that. But that's not the case. Shit. I don't know what to do with Spain. Spain has already taken an event. The only person who hasn't is France. Ruh-roh. Well, this is what happens when you screw up, right? Oh, boy. What's this going to do to me? Other than just being a rebel. I don't know. I really ought to take it back, but I kind of can't. Well, I think I build... I don't know. I don't know what to do. What is that going to do to me? I need to understand. I think that just stays in rebellion and doesn't generate troops or anything. Uh-oh. Religious dissent roll. Oh, that was what was up here. That's fine. Yeah, I don't know what I'm up to. Was seriously into Hawk to build himself a navy and an army. He's got a galley-only navy that he's built together there. That may be more ships than I need. And less armies than I need. And that, can I build that big an army? Yeah, I can build the army that big. The Navy was the question. 2, 3, 4, I'm good. But I forgot I have these light ships that I can bring into play. I'm looking at the possibility of a war with Turkey. I at least have a claim on Turkish territory. And if they screw things up, I can come in against them. Currently, the papal controller is Poland, who has no real capability or interest in creating a crusade or excommunicating. Well, they don't have the capability to do it even. And they have better things to do. Speaking of deja poop, I just went, gotta go again. Heartening. Oh, bad enough that I may only have a few, my hope is that I only have a few months left. I know things can progress relatively quickly. And as long as I don't know what they are, I'll be, I can be strong enough to take them. Okay. To the English. We set ourselves up to just improve our stability. Right, speaking of which, Italy or Austria has to either shit or get off the pot. I think I moved back. Is this Imperial? Yeah. Into the Savoy area, and that'll let me deal with the French. But I have to do a reorg before I can do anything. I didn't have a card which helped me, did I? Yeah, these are all, you have to be at peace, as is forging an alliance or anything like that. So, since wars are only resolved, since peace is only happens at the end of all the military phases, you're not going to hit a position, there's not even a, hey, I completely wiped you out, now we're at peace. There's no way that I can get back to peace now that I'm in a war with France, right? This is kind of problematic. I don't remember how the old EU used to handle this. Obviously, the computer game, everything's in real time, so wars, peaces, stuff like that, they happen as you're maneuvering around and everything's interleaved. Without some way of, getting back to my peace existence when I can do the diplomacy and stuff like that, I'm in a problematic situation, to be honest. I don't know if player negotiation can be done while there's while there's a war going on. I don't know if it matters because France still wants to win this war. Austria wants to win it as well. So, yeah. We'll spend their final cube to subjugate and vassalize the 4-point and get my cubes back. There goes my alliance. And I now have a Catholic vassal here. And that allows me to claim, defend the knights. Let's get rid of this. This is, I don't know if it's Poland's first success. They recovered from Wanza or whatever, but this feels like their first real success that they had in a while, at least. I gained 2 galleys in the Baltic Sea and a claim to an area adjacent to it. Or I could get noble knights. Well, I don't have the military, so I can't dig that out. So first I get 3. Then I get a fleet. These will not help with trade. I don't know if I really want them. I can always disband them. And a claim in an area adjacent to it. So the question here is, do I want to squeeze into imperial territory? Oh, I could have grabbed, no, I decided against Bohemia. Okay. Whether I want to squeeze into imperial territory of Pomerania or just stuff, and I'm going to go with this, that is kind of close to me anyway. And I feel pretty happy that Poland did something. They were not counting on being able to achieve anything that impressive. Warsaw, hey, we weren't going to get the 3 cities no matter what, even if we didn't get the advantage off that. But this is kind of nice. I don't know if we can build galleys here, so we probably kind of want to keep them. Continue down our twisted path, play a diplomacy chit to create an alliance with Trebizond. That'll allow us to subjugate it. Is that gonna, geez. Let's see what that does for our safeguard Anatolia. Owner vassalize 5 or more of Karaman. Yeah, but they have to be areas that are not among your core. I don't have the cubes to support this. I do have the cubes to support that. So that is the one that I'm going to go for. I have a subjugate card in hand. I want to use it to gain stuff. Unfortunately, I'm just really worried that I'm not going to be able to launch my attacks, right, that I've built up for. And I'm still waiting for the Italian wars, which probably won't start. Who has one left? France has it left. They could either fire off the revolts in the Low Countries. Neither one of these give them anything, or the Reformation. If they choose the Reformation, they're hitting Austria, their enemy. If they choose the revolts in the Low Country, they're hitting Spain, who's been making sounds about Genoa. But it may be Spain can still get one cube over there. It may be that the best Spain can really do is position themselves. See, they have a reasonable army. They could take this. Yeah, I should have built my army there if that's what I was going to do. And as an alternative, we could go to war with France. Does that really gain us anything? Not really, although these alliances might trigger some interesting stuff. We were thinking Turkey, but we want to wait until Turkey screws up, and we're running out of time there. We can't afford to fabricate a claim with just one cube, which is the most we can get. Our galley fleet is not going to be sufficient to do anything interesting. Like we could have maybe done something up here, but I don't really want to do that. Oh, we just have shitloads of problems everywhere. Everywhere. We don't have a casus belli against France anyway. Yeah. It's looking almost like we may go to war with Turkey. Now, wait. That's not going to work well. I'll tell you why. We could get our entire fleet here, but we don't have enough. You know, we wouldn't have our transit across. So that's no good. Shit. We could just go to war with Genoa. That's going to be expensive and painful. But that is sort of what the plan was. That's going to be a stability loss. I think just one. No, maybe two. Jesus. I don't know. I'm leaving here because I need to try to get some sleep in. It's like 6-8 hours before things change over in my addiction that I have to deal with. And I kind of have to avoid dealing. I can go on, there's some points that I'll be able to burn quickly before I go to sleep. But I'm going to try to at least get a few hours of nap in. Back from my failure to sleep very well. I kind of, I put the news on whenever I've got a news video. And I fall asleep during that, but then I wake up soon after it's over. The French build up their army. They basically used their money reserves. Remember, they were like over $30 or so. Building up a nice mercenary army as well, just to give me a chance to face that Austrian army and its imperial troops. I've got one cube left, that's it. I get another cube if I win the battle, which will let me siege Savoy, I guess. That's all I get out of it. At best. Well, I don't think there's much I can do here in terms of dealing with the war. I can fix my unrest issues, but if I fix my unrest issues, the revolts in the Low Country happens. Not good. They're already in trouble. If I declare war on Turkey, I'm probably going to lose. My debt situation is even worse than theirs. I can't see launching the attack. I think I'm going to write this off as I screwed up and march here, because it's, I don't know. Let's find the cost. Let's just check declaring war. If I declare war without a casus belli, it's going to be 2 stability. I just can't, you know. And best I can do is 1 cube. So I'll move in there, admit my screw up. Other countries have screwed up left and right. It's Spain's turn. Could use its cubes. Forge an alliance. It looks like I collected my stuff to do that, but I'm not sure. I don't remember what I collected it for. It may have been an admin action. I think I'm just going to pass. Take that $5. My money's in pretty good shape now, finally, but, you know, no, I'll trade. Screw that, man. Trade is probably going to be worth more than $5. I didn't get anything I'm near, so $2 in the bank. Would have rather kept the cube by far. Yeah, well. It does their reallocation, get their military in play. And does its pass, grabbing that $5 margin. Bring it around to Turkey. Plan here was to subjugate. I know we're running. And we get Trebizond out of that, which gets us 1 towards the defend Anatolia set. Moves the ship back to the French, and we're going to stop there because I'm out of tea. I may try to go back to sleep, may end up back up here, I don't know. Well, France has basically very little else they can do. I could pass, but that would give the Austrians a chance to move and perform a siege. So in we go. 6 infantry and artillery, a total of 6 dice for combat. Facing, well, let's just check. Both have Janissaries, nothing else. Facing 4, 5, 6 infantry without a general. However, I'm allowed to jump in and throw the Emperor Brody in. Okay. 6 dice. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1. I may have cheated and thrown some whites in there. I'm not sure. On the other hand, I may have also, I don't know. No, that wouldn't have been that way. I don't know, man. I don't know what happened. Okay. So this is now 5 dice coming back with 2, 4, 5, 6 hits. Now, I had 6 units, so that works. And there goes the French army, their mercenaries, a casualty marker, because there were 2 paired things on General Brody, and well, they're down to two guys. The chances of the French succeeding here are just about nothing. But if I retreat, and I can't play a card, I have a card that might help, but I can't play it. I have no military actions left. If I retreat, I lose my army, so I might as well stick and fight. So here we go. And I get my one hit. And if I get very lucky here, I will completely, I'll survive. I do. Well, how does Austria feel about this? Not much choice. I'd lose my army if I leave. Same situation. Lots of dice. We each need one hit. The French have their artillery on the line. They're going to lose it, but... And indeed they do. And so both armies have been knocked out. Again, I think, I don't know. Brody's got nowhere to go except the discard pile. The two armies come off the map. The war with Savoy and Austria appears to be a bust, but it's not good for Austria either. We didn't get a victory, so we don't get a cube. And the boat sails on. Why I stopped things, but Spain performs their siege. That is an unrest. I believe anytime you take a city, the unrest happens. So even if it hadn't been an unrest before for some reason, it would be now. And over. And the boat sails on. England could keep firing off trade, but we don't really want to. So we'll just grab our $3. That's not much less than we would get. Now I ought to have, although I don't have enough counters for it, do I? I ought to be putting little Catholic markers all throughout England, just to indicate that it's a different religion from the player. But I can remember, because England is the Protestant nation, that, you know, there isn't an issue there. By the game you wouldn't have to, but I've been doing that just as a mnemonic device to show me that, hey, this country's not in the status I want it to be. So we don't really know if the countermix would be used up at any particular time. I've got like one marker there that I could use left over from Poland that I haven't pulled yet. But I think everybody else has already stripped their Catholic markers so that I could mark so that I could mark what? Well, that was a change in religion. But anywhere where there's a problem, so like the Turks have some stuff that's not marked as Muslim, that's not Muslim, and I want to track it by drawing my attention to it. I get the feeling that I pulled units out of the exhausted pile, because when I count this list, I've got 3, 6, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 for that. Which leads me to believe that the entire Austrian army should be exhausted. That seems fitting, since the much larger French army is entirely exhausted. I don't think I recovered units from the Austrian army. Certainly not, like, if I had to recover units, I would not have recovered all my units. I would have only recovered the ones I was building. So this seems, I think I just drew from the wrong side. That leaves me with the Austrians. They're not at peace, so these cards aren't going to help me. I have the Central Authority. That's not going to help me. I think it's past time. We're in the problem, right? The Turks are seeing, oh shit, now 3 of the 4 people who have to pass have passed. France has almost nothing left. They're probably going to pass. I don't want to start a big war right now. I diddled away too much of my turn. Look at all these cubes I've got. But I can start a small war. Yeah. I probably don't have time to win it. France has to take one more action. Is Spain going to pass yet? I doubt it. They've got some unrest and military cubes. Okay. I certainly can't fight a huge war, even though I set myself up for one. Now, I could take Crete from... I could take Crete. That would get me my thing. I can't take much more. That'll put me in a truce with Venice, but I'm not going to get the Italian bonus off Venice. Is there something else that I could get the Italian bonus off of? What if I go into Italy? Yeah. I don't have a claim to Rome. That's the problem. If I fabricate a claim, I can't because it's one cube, not two. I think the only thing that I have that I can do is a declaration of war. Do I want to do it on Crete? Yes, I do. So I'm going to declare war on Venice because it does not matter that I can't go to war with Venice. Now, that's not an alliance. This is an alliance on Ferrara, not on Venice. Hard to tell. The board's crowded. So Venice has no allies. I haven't entered Holy Roman Empire territory, so there's no issues there. Crete puts their navy out, and there are no other Venetians there. So we get the navy dice, and they don't get an admiral. They would probably have an admiral present in any battle that fought here in the old EU, because the minor powers didn't just, you wouldn't be projecting just the one point of navy that aligns with the wealth of Crete. You'd have the entire Venetian navy down there fighting the war, and some other player would be manipulating it. This game doesn't work that way at all. So there's no naval bonuses anywhere. My ships fight. The Turks get a hit. The Venetians also get, well, the Turks got more than one hit, but the Venetians also got a hit. There goes a galley because they're cheaper. I paid my cube for declaration of war. There was a battle. I won the battle. I get the cube back, but I don't. No, I do get to transport as part of my naval move. So I transport to Crete, and now there's an army there. Now this is this general. So that's 2 extra dice. Reducing a die. I have both artillery, I have them present, and janissaries. Two extra dice. Gives me only 5. I get a single hit, that's enough. For Venice, they get 3 dice, -1 because of the line infantry. They do not get a hit. This doesn't generate another cube, but we're successfully established both at sea and on land now, and can perform a siege with our next cube. We will have a victory over Venice. We'll end up getting Crete out of it, and that's really all. There's not a whole hell of a lot else that can happen. Use of the cubes and whatnot feels like the kind of limitations that a CDG places on you. The fact that other players passing ends your turn is a much more restrictive situation. So Turkey can't do diplomacy and all kind of other stuff, regardless of how good and effective their king is, and put off their military to the end, and then still be able to conduct the military activities. This is, again, strongly at variance with both the board game and the computer game, however you want to look at, that kind of thing. In the board game, all that economic development came for free. You could do as much of it as you had money for. How successful it was the question. Here, it's automatically successful, so you could kind of make a mixed argument that, like, the number of cubes is the number of successes that you can expect instead of just a die roll modifier. So, you can do more planning. I don't like planning, but that's fine. But the fact that I was trying to do economic stuff and got and that ended up preventing me from doing military stuff because other people didn't want to do as much. What that kind of means is that the world is limited by the weakest links, essentially. If you're a rich and powerful country with great dynamic rulers and whatnot, you're still not going to be that much better than a really lousy ruler, well, an average ruler. A really lousy ruler will pass early, but other people will still have stuff to do. But, you basically can maybe engineer two action phases over everyone else. And that's all you can get. Not over the bottom of not over the worst ruler in the game, but over the average. You cannot exceed the average by too much. So the fact that Turkey's doing well, and you can look at this as from a gameplay kind of standpoint as kind of an advantage. It keeps the leader from running away with the game, right? But it is a little disturbing if everybody else tanks their country and you're doing really well. You're going to be able to do maybe like a low mediocre player would be able to do in a normal game. And it just doesn't feel right to me. I don't know. This is pretty much at the end of their line. However, I got to be careful. Austria still has 2 military cubes. They could regenerate forces and build forces. Which means I have to check what might happen in the peace side of things and whether I can avoid anything here. So the first thing that's checked in peace is an automatic white peace, which is neither side of the war occupy any enemy's provinces, including provinces of their enemy vassals or active allies. As long as that's the case, then we get that automatic white peace trigger. And that's going to be any PRs involved lose a point each, which is not good. I don't think the Austrians can get further than that. If they have a card or something, maybe they can. That means I'm going to be moving to my pass, because it's really all I can do anyway. I got two choices. I could do the revolts in the low states, which hits the Spaniards who are doing relatively well. That's appealing. What is that going to do? Well, it's going to trigger the Italian War event and other stuff. Diverse faiths are going to show up, which wouldn't show up otherwise. This is very appealing in a lot of ways. These are going to get triggered no matter what. But the other option would be to have the Reformation spread, and that'll be Switzerland and Saxony. The HR areas and Bohemia would all go Protestant. I get to cause one of them, not both. I'd like to cause both. They're both problem areas. I don't think hitting the Austrians is particularly going to help me, and they're so far behind that I think I will choose the Spanish one. In addition, that's going to give me more cash, and I need that because I burned through so much money. Okay, I don't really need it. I'm going to produce a lot of money, but we might as well take it. Okay, let's fire off these events then as we move into here. I could have done something and held off and made my choice later. Place diverse faiths in each of the Netherlands and Flanders and Wallonia, unless they're already Protestant. Okay, where are diverse faiths? On the back of Muslim? Catholic. Fuck. Alright. Well, we got one here that we can put in play. But my attempting to be clever is just not going to work. France was the beginning of Protestantism. Since that's the case, I guess I'll remove this one. But we're kind of losing all advantages here, and that's in that mess. Okay. Add an unrest to each thing in the Dutch core provinces unless the capital is located in one of the areas above. Okay. This means it's not going to impact the actual Dutch provinces. But this is Dutch core. You can tell by the little thing there. This is not. This is not. I bet you this is not. It's hard to tell for sure. It's the mess. But these don't get triggered because they're in the Netherlands itself. And also, they're not players, so they can't get hit by that. So we caused a little bit of problem there. And then 3 armies are added to Flanders and Wallonia. 3 rebel armies. Is there an enemy there? There isn't. So these are rebel armies. These will not immediately cause any issues, but they will at the end of the turn. Now we go here. And the Italian Wars shifts over. There'll be a new power struggle, but I need to look at the power struggle sequence to see how this is supposed to actually happen. By the way, power struggle is sort of an optional or advanced rule, but I kind of think that the game won't flow properly without it. It's sort of a historical necessity in my view. Okay. Activating. Power struggles are activated when the relevant event. When the top card is moved to the active power struggle, we'll also reveal the new one, and then there's the scoring, and that's really it. So we do look at the new power struggle that'll be coming up. I don't really want to put markers down yet. This is the struggle for the Balkans, Hungarian Plain, Royal Hungary, Dalmatia, Croatia, and Bosnia, Serbia, Albania, Moldavia. The PR with the most units in the battleground area gets 3. If Ottomans or Austria has fewer than 6 total things, or Poland has fewer than 4, they lose 3. This is more like the original game's goals, which are like, yeah, and kind of fit more with missions, which are like, you get to select, hey, I care about this or I don't care about this. Now, in the original board game, if you cared about it, you would get the full benefit if you succeed in the goal, and if you fail in the goal, you would get the full penalty, and almost all of them came with a benefit and penalty. If you didn't select, you would get no benefit if you succeed, but you would get half the penalty if you fail, which is really a weird sort of situation. If you can succeed in these things, you probably want to pick them at least if they have decent points. Okay, I think that's all that happens off the power struggle card. Let's look and make sure, but I also place tokens in the battleground areas on the activated power struggle. We already did that, and we'll do that again for the new one. But right now, I don't want to confuse things. Okay, the next one is this little cross, spread of religious ideas, where there are clusters of infectious faiths. Well, I don't know what that means. Clusters. Protestants in counter are considered infectious and will spread when this event signal. Revolutionary. Okay. I don't know about this clusters of infectious faiths is. I think, a cluster is any body of areas connected by land that share the same religion. That sounds plural. A single token symbol in an area which is not adjacent by land to any other area with the same religion is also considered a separate cluster. Place a Protestant Counter-Reform token in an area adjacent to a cluster of the same type as the cluster it is placed next to. I don't think we have any clusters. In fact, we don't have any Protestants or Counter-Reformation. Placing one of these into the area, replace any token there. If there are more clusters in play and you have played less than 4, you place more. If there are no infectious faith clusters on the board, place diverse faiths tokens instead in any 2 Catholic areas not adjacent to C zones. Okay, now we have to worry about this is the French get to play this. Okay, so I need to find some Catholic faith markers. We're out, I do believe. I believe we have used up every single Catholic faith marker on the board, which is a problem. Got tons of these. I don't want to use Counter-Reformation. I've got tons of Protestant Counter-Reformation markers. What I don't have is many Catholic markers. And part of the reason for that is, everything's kind of Catholic, but I have added a couple of areas and made them Catholic. Here's one. Okay, so that gets a diverse faiths. Is this a real diverse faiths? Yeah, this is a real diverse faiths, so I'll take that off. Okay, so if there are no one, place diverse faiths instead in 2 Catholic areas. And the French get to choose this, not adjacent to C zones. Okay, this isn't going to really help for the Turks. Like, giving them diverse faiths is no better than Catholic. So I look at the leading players, and as France, I would like to cause problems in Spain. So how about that? We'll do one there, and we can make things cheap. Flip over one of these. Sure. We'll flip Andalusia over, and I'll put this one back over here, although I don't know how much good they're doing me in such places. And Bohemia has one too. So there are a couple that I could reuse. Okay. Now we get the red and white flag. What does that mean? Unrest rebellion. All players must roll rebellion dice for each of their territories with unrest. And okay, so this is interesting. You roll a maximum of 1 rebel die. I think that's the advantage. I think I've been doing that wrong. I've been doing, everyone rolls a maximum of 1 die. I think that's instead the advantage for being the person who plays the card. So I'm going to roll, and I'm not going to do it all live. I'll come back with a synopsis. As often happens, I lied. I got through a little bit. I started over with France. Hey, they lost, I think, a couple of bucks, something like that, and gained back champagne. Great, no problem there. Spain started rolling through theirs, and they ran out of their cubes. Over here, we got a religious unrest or heretics. Over here, we got another one, but we got a bigger problem. $4 that we owe. We're 5 cubes under. We just went bankrupt. Oops. This was what Spain was not supposed to do. Should not have raised up that new big army. Bankruptcy 21. We looked this up not long ago, but I don't remember specifics like that very well. Okay. 3 stability lost. Boom. That's not good. Loses 5 prestige. Yeah, this was nasty to do to them. Discards all money and 3 of my debt markers. So some of the debt remains anyhow. I'm not even cured of my debt problem. I didn't completely go bankrupt. Disbands all mercenaries, got none. Fires all advisors, got none. Loses half of my power of each type, don't have any. But ouch. Outside of that, England doesn't have a problem. Their only unrest was already... Now, I don't think that turns into a religious dispute. I don't know. But the revolt wasn't started over religion. It was started, God knows why. Austria and Poland have nothing as far as problems that I see, strangely enough. That'll change, I'm sure. Well, I'm not so sure because the Protestant revolt isn't happening. In fact, I might say, oh, Protestantism started here. Yeah, kind of, but in terms of real power, it was Henry VIII who just adopted his own church. And you can make an argument that it actually started in Bohemia or the Lollards in England. I mean, there was a lot of proto-Protestants around. Turkey, however, got really shit luck. They recovered this and this, but these guys single roll revolt, re-rolled the revolt, and got another revolt in both cases. So we've got a kind of cube problem here. I don't know how we'll resolve that, but the number of cubes that are on here will subtract from the income and the troop strength. One way or another, I'll figure out a means of doing that. Okay. And then we have triangle deaths. Took a hit on one of their advisors. Turkey lost 2 advisors from that. Now this card goes away. And now we ignore the event. The Reformation spreads. Pity. This would be putting Protestant tokens on the board. No one counts as Protestant except Henry VIII. Everything else is diverse faiths. But we once again have the rebellions, right? That's the same symbol. Yeah. We trigger another set of rebellion dice off. Less impactful. The French ended up losing one of their Brittany states, getting a cube for that. The Spaniards ended up taking on a couple more debt markers, or another debt marker, I guess. No, 2 more. The Turks ended up taking on a debt marker. Nothing else too exciting there. And now we go to the spread of Protestantism, which is still not Protestantism. I don't know if it's going to actually happen, because this event not firing may be the issue here. And I kind of feel like, wow, maybe something should say, no matter what, this happens. Okay, so we hit this, and this is going to be the auto-resolution. Spread infectious faiths, alternating between Protestant and counter-reform, into adjacent areas. Preference goes to areas with at least a town. When placing diverse faith tokens, instead go in alphabetical order, ignoring areas that already have diverse faiths. Oh shit, you've got to be kidding me. Alphabetical order. Uh-huh. And it's any Catholic area, right? This is just a fucking mess. If there are no infectious, place diverse instead in any two Catholic areas. Yeah. So what I need to do is pull. It's by area. How am I going to alphabetize all the fucking areas? This is absolutely ridiculous. I mean, I don't even have a list of all the areas that I know of, right? I've got, like, Granada says Andalusia. Okay. Yeah. All right. We'll try. Clever enough to make this a little easier. So the Aegean archipelagos first, then Central Russia, then Crimea. So we've got it here, and we've got it here. So we just look at all the different areas, right? All the different big sections. So AE, AN, AL, LMN, AU, H, AU. So it looks like the Aegean archipelago is the first to get hit. That is not a Catholic area, so it's not affected. And then we look again. L, I think, was next for Algiers. That's not going to be an issue. Actually, it might be. No. Andalusia is next. That's already diverse faiths, ignored. AR is next. And you can kind of see, I'm going to have a hellish time. And I also have to, here's one, pull two of these diverse faith markers from the board. But we're at the limit here. And if diverse faiths keep spreading, we're going to be in real problems. I'm going to have to start using replacement counters because this is, I think, the absolute limit here. I think I've pulled all of them now. Ended up with Aragon and Austria. And now we have the deaths of plus signs. We're down to Charles V over in Austria, who sure wasn't around long. Where's his marker? Oh, not Charles V. Who the hell got it then? Oh, that's Brody. Charles V is in Spain. That's why. So Charles I. He's marked as both. Okay. But they don't cause anything. Weird. And on top of that, Spain doesn't exist yet, and I'm not sure how it could. I would have needed a second subjugation to get to create Spain, which I did not get. Now, Aragon's still vassalized, but the Charles V inheritance included Aragon and Castile, and should have almost inherently combined them. Although, I don't know, I can see an argument for not doing it that way. So Charles got hit, and someone else, I think the Turkish general over here, got hit. And that gets rid of this card, and it looks like we are not going to have a real reformation. We're just going to have Henry VIII seizing the church's money. Can't be excommunicated, but he's got equal problems. That moves the boat forward. Spain has nothing. They pass, and that gets them a buck. But boy, they're on the way down with all this debt. Damn close to taking a fifth debt on just, because of... Okay. And that starts the trigger. Everybody's got an event. So that means first Turkey and then France each get a turn. And that'll be it. Forgot to roll over in Naples. Naples goes into revolt. And since I used my, I would have gotten 2 rolls there. Since I used my thingamabobbers over here, I wouldn't get to do that there. Well, I can conduct a siege. I'm not sure what the rules on siege are because I have enough cubes if I can do sieges in more than one area, and that would very much fit the original game. Then I can take Crete and recapture this mess. Oh, that's not what happens there. There's troops there. Fuck me. I have to fight a rebellion instead. Give me this back. Give me that back. So that's just a quick fight. I have my big army there. I can put my my ruler in place if I want to, but I don't want to. So I get 3 dice against the rebel. I got a horse. I have a horse over there in that army. And the rebels come back and hit me once. So I will lose one of these. The rebellion, the rebel forces have been defeated. Okay, so then I don't really have to worry. I'm in Crete. I'll spend a military cube, and I will take Crete, which gets me one of these. Now, I could use these occupied markers for the religious space, perhaps. And that gets me another one of these, and my cube can go there. No, this is a new cube. I just took a new thing. Got to be careful with those. I recalculate when it's important anyway, so it doesn't really matter. Got a card I want to play? $2 gets me a military advisor. Yes. Maybe not. I'm low on money. Fuck that. I don't need it. Cubes are probably not what I need right now. And that moves the boat over to the French, who probably want it to pass at this point. I don't have anything useful I can do with my cube with my turn. So that's a pass for France. That puts us to the very mechanical peace and rebels phase. And oh boy. So what is going to happen? We're going to get a white peace between Austria, Savoy, I guess, and France. We're going to get, which is going to hurt both of them, we're going to get the Turks capturing Crete and going to peace with Venice, which again, you know, they just, historically, they fought for control of the Eastern Med. And that's why they're a power in EU. And even if they weren't a power in EU, as a minor player, as a minor country, they would be able to use their military as a player saw fit, not just, oh, well, you only have one city there, you're going to let that go. They would instead devote their entire navy to fighting. Yeah. Spain failed to conduct its war. Turkey failed to expand its war terribly much. In the Spanish case, it was due to a lack of diplomatic power after I reorganized. My own fault. Of course, I ended up spending enough money that I got the bankruptcy and I'm set up for another one, which might happen too. And in the Turkish case, it was doing all kinds of other things and ignoring my military capacity because I wanted to do military last. Because once you do military, once you declare war, you can't do diplomacy anymore, basically. Which kind of makes sense, but what it doesn't take into account is the fact that these turns, you know, this might have been a very short war, but it can only happen at the end of the turn, or else I don't get any diplomacy. And that in conjunction with the timer limit, that timer limit reminds me of some of the kinds of things that I feel so badly about with Twilight Imperium. The problem, yeah, so the thing here is this subject matter is such a rare one to explore, and this is a much lighter game than Europa Universalis is. Yet, than the original Europa Universalis, yet still a much richer game than anything else that I have that covers this kind of scope. So I can think of some things that feel kind of like it. Um, Now I'm trying to remember what. There's that Martin Wallace game, Age of Exploration or Age of Empires or something like that. There's things like Imperial Struggle that feel kind of Euro-ish like this does. It's only two players, of course, but it's much, much lighter, right? It doesn't give this really broad and powerful narrative that this map gives. It is filled with the gaminess. Um, and then I'm thinking things like Soldier Kings down here, which, okay, much, much lighter style of game. Um, is that the one that plays like, no, that's a different Soldier King. Yeah, there's a different game called Soldier King that is that uses the House Divided system, but it's a four-player game on a fantasy continent. Someday we'll do it. It's not very good though. It's got it. Maybe I've done it already. I can't remember. I mean, it's one of my older games, so I know I've played it, and maybe a decade ago or so it got pulled out. But yeah, the old Soldier Kings allows for economic and military operations and whatnot on a scale kind of like this. But to be honest, it's just so much lighter than this. Even though this is much more Euro gamey-ish, this gives a better view of sort of the reality of the kind of things that are going on, which is really an interesting situation. I'm used to the Euro era game is, the less attached it is to the reality, but that's kind of been moving out of the way. Coin in some ways, I don't know, some ways does, some ways doesn't. It's like, I don't know. Anyway, that's enough babble. It's time for me to go look and see if my addiction is ready yet. Okay, I pulled the truces off board. There were no casus belli. There never seemed to be any. Not sure how they happen outside of, ones that are kind of persistent. Or the disputed marriage succession, etc. I'm sure events trigger them, but Savoy qualifies as an NPR invasion situation. Now, it may seem a little weird, but they're not an active ally. In fact, they're not even an ally, but they're inactive. And I probably screwed up because when the French came in to fight, they would have had to fight the Savoyan army as well as the Austrian army. Leave that be. Too bad. I just forgot. I'm so used to different situations. Okay. They will be invading the NPR's own capital area where there are French troops, or French cities. And I add unrest to two things belonging to players at war to that area. Well, boom, boom. Not good. Place NPR units equal to half the tax value of the provinces controlled by the NPR. I believe that's 4, so I get 2 of these rebel units show up there as well. Resolve a battle immediately. There isn't one from this point onward. The rebel units, well, the NPR's forces are just rebellion troops. This guy fell over. And we got a mess here. This, I think, is Luxembourg. And got bumped. Okay. And that will put us to rebels siege or move. Okay. There are rebel units on the board. Resolve areas in terms of the most. I think that's the 3 in Walloon territory. For areas with both rebels and unrest, the rebels will siege towns that they can. I don't see any towns that have unrest in them over there. The only one has already been taken. Okay. Place a rebel town. Okay. For each area with this and no unrest, move those into areas that have unrest, which are adjacent to land. Okay. So there are 2 in each of these. This is the Netherlands, this is the Seine. So, do we move them all in? Move all but one. Okay. So both of these go up into the Netherlands and not against the French. Is there a battle? No. Following normal rules. If there were no eligible adjacent areas, you remove one. Okay. All right, that's the 3-point area. Now we go to this 2-point area, and there are rebellions in both of those. I believe this is not diverse faith. So that's 2 French towns taken. This war was not a good idea for France. Didn't work out all that well for Austria, but comparatively. So that's that. And the last one is down here. Let's see how this works. It's not that. Each area with this and none, move all but one to areas which are adjacent. Resolve battle. If there were no eligible adjacent areas, I think this just goes away. There were eligible adjacent areas, but I couldn't move to them. So I don't know. Maybe it stays. Let's see. No, there were no eligible adjacent areas. There was no unrest there. So that's cleared. And Moldavia is now, or is that Moldavia? I don't know. I think so. Is now completely freed with no problems existing. All right. Peace resolution. We have an enforced white peace between France and Austria and Savoy. And we have to look up the cost for that. There's going to be a so let's make sure this works. No, it doesn't. This is a return to pre-war conditions with no compensation being paid. Any occupied provinces must be returned. Well, there were no occupied provinces. So I think what we get is just a truce here and here and here. Okay. Any PRs involved lose a prestige. The next piece, there's only one additional war remaining, which is against the Venetians. Now we take a look, and we didn't get total victory, but partial victory against an NPR. The PR's deployed land units outnumber the total number of rebel forces in their areas plus any deployed enemy land units. I don't have any rebel forces, so we have succeeded in a partial victory, which we can declare how we like. We're going to keep the current board state, which means this falls. That should have been this side. That falls. A cube goes away, and there's a truce with Venice. We did not get the wars we wanted to, but it's okay. Okay. Disputed succession. I don't believe there are any. Occupied towns. Players who now have their towns that are occupied by rebels. Oh, by enemies or rebels. Oh, painful. All right. Let's start looking. I don't know if I charged people before for this. I thought it was just enemies. 3 for France. 1 for England. 1, 2 for Spain. We may have missed this at other times. 2 for Turkey. The world is not a happy place. Interregnum. Okay. France has an interregnum. They lose a prestige, and if they had any marriages, they would become disputed succession issues. You don't want to be in this. Players with religious descent in any of their areas. Oh boy. All right, that's a lot. Tolerance is just Poland and Turkey. So this one is already triggered. That won't help. But over here, 1, 2, it does apply to vassals as well, right? Players who have vassals in any areas with a religion must, in one affected area, either remove a cube or add, yeah, so this would flip over, but that's all. Over here, there's dissent. What happens there? Players who have religious dissent in areas must add 1 unrest to their thing for each such area. Okay, that means Spain and England are impacted. Yeah. England goes into dissent everywhere. Remember, they're Protestant now. Austria, I may have been missing some of these. We don't have diverse. This one, I have 1 extra. Oh, that's that, because we didn't get the whole problem. Okay. Tolerance allows us to remove 2 fewer than we normally would. Well, We only have one Orthodox area. And Bohemia is not ours, okay. One Orthodox area, we're hit with that. Wow, Austria's got diverse religions. Turkey has 1, 2, 3, we got problems. 4, 5. So I got to convert something like 3 of these, right? 1, 2, 3. I can put on, I have Muslim markers, so I can put this there. You might have missed that before. Got this one too. All right, let's count again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This doesn't count because it's not a problem. 6, 7. I have to flip 5 of these. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and now I have a vassal as well. Either have to remove a cube, I'll drop a cube to prevent that from being a problem. I would think it would be like a diplomatic cube, but it's any kind of cube. Oh no, wrong. I remove a cube from here. It's an influence cube. That's what that symbol means. Okay, and now it's time to roll rebel dice. I'll start with the first player again and work my way around. And I expect more horrible things to happen. Okay, well, that turned out kind of ugly, not surprisingly. You can see Spain, England's got a little bit of, no, they didn't get hurt too bad. Spain, right on the verge of collapse again. England lost some cash, some troops. We got Bohemia acting up. The Turks, however, did pretty well. Remember, they have tolerance, so they can re-roll some things. But they actually cleaned up a lot of their problems, which is pretty cool. However, they lost money, they lost troops, and whatnot. And that will put us to the income and upkeep phase. And I need to rest, probably for the night. But I was kind of hoping to get through this whole section during this, but it turned out really, really ugly. Europe is just ablaze with revolts right now. And this is gonna be hard to recover from. It really is. Nations are going to have to try to repair their situation. And hey, Poland, lucky Turkey too. And to some extent, Austria, to a lesser extent really. But the most impressive ad here is Poland, who has no religious problems whatsoever, even though they have the diverse faiths. Turkey's learning a lesson. Even with tolerance, you probably want to convert territories rather than expand too rapidly. That's growing to be an interesting situation, to tell you the truth. And over at France is just not so much religious dissent, some, but the revolts happening within France are definitely causing them problems as well. Okay. As I push into the income phase, it's Tuesday morning, later in the morning. I don't know if you guys can see, it always looks so bright through the monitor that I think you can't really see the view that I get, which is much cleaner. But it's a focus issue probably more than anything else. This is prioritized for close-in work, I guess. My raid addiction is doing terrible things right now, so I'm not going to be playing a hell of a lot in the next day or two. But I want to push through the income phase, so we'll get to that. Key factors of all this is I have to check my cities that are in revolt and whatnot. And it's not trivial to see whether or not there should be a cube on a city. So I see, there's the fourth one, okay. So this is correct. I'm gonna have to correct each country's towns at this point. I just do a double check, make sure it's right. At the end of that video, I think you caught a big loud noise. That's my refrigerator. It's been doing that since I moved into this place. I looked that up online, and you know, they say they can last 10, 15 years after there it goes again, after they start doing that. It can't really be repaired. It's just a replace issue, so I don't know. When I first moved in, I was worried it would die any day. And now I'm kind of like, well, I don't think it's ever going to die. I fucked something up. Gain and remove unrest. I did not do this step, which should have happened before the rebel die roll. Terrible that it didn't. Oh well. But I'm pretty sure I did not do it. I even noticed it's during the income phase that I look over at this track to see what's going on, because this covers the money and the monarch's power cubes. Now, obviously, if I follow the little cookbook perfectly every time, I'm fine, but I don't tend to do that. So this worked out in France's disfavor, because I recuperated one of these. I would have been rolling one less die, whatever. And in Spain's favor, because they had to take another hit. But that's okay. I've made so many mistakes throughout the game that a little one like that, we can just pass off. And, you know, I've said this a lot of times in my real war games. I don't consider this a real war game. And in fact, I'm not sure I consider the original EU a real war game, although it contains a war game, right? And it contains quite a complicated war game. The actual game is not focused so much on war. It's, you know, a grand strategic geopolitical game. And could you argue this has a war game? Yeah, maybe it has a very simple one. But it's so intertwined with everything else that it's not like the EU or like Pax Britannica, which has military segments in it that feel like a war game, and then other parts of the game which feel like the geopolitical game. This just feels like a giant geopolitical game with a simplistic combat system, very simplistic. You can argue the same with things like Here I Stand, too. They're not really war games, right? They're what I termed wimp games, which is not a term of derision for me, because my favorite games fall into that category almost invariably. They're these big geopolitical games, some of which can be very, very in-depth. Now, what was I going to say? There was something I wanted to tell about this, and I don't know. Anyway, I'll continue on, but you can see the French collected up a lot of money at least. Things I should be paying attention to: this Suppress Revolts mission. Phase 3, Step 1. Well, there is no Step 1. Let's look over here. Nope, there's a Step A. I'm guessing that's what they mean, or something. I am going to say... See, here's the thing. I think Austria didn't have any, but I'm not going to give it to them, because I think they should have had one there from the diverse religions from a previous turn. So I'm not going to give them a bonus for that. But one person definitely gets a bonus, and they're still in that place, which is the Poles. So they get 5 prestige, brings them up to 16, and 2 military cubes. Now, this is the only time that they get this. If they succeed in not having revolts on other turns, that doesn't really help them. But things are really looking brighter for the Poles, right? You know, they looked like they were falling far behind. Now they're kind of untouched by the current problems, whereas everyone else seems to be having huge issues. That's cool. That's cool. IDOI Spain has all these cubes all over their board. I'm just not seeing it. I got 1 there. That's not 2, 3, 4, 5 is what I'm counting. I really, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I really don't know what was going on and why so many got placed. We weren't in any kind of war or anything. So I'm just not seeing, you know, what could have caused all those counters to be placed. Now, I did conquer one thing, but I think I lost more than and I should have probably removed a marker there. Did they conquer anything this turn? No. Those might be leftovers from last turn or something. I really don't know. I don't know how that could have been. They didn't conquer much last turn either. So yeah, I got no clue unless those are leftovers from when the Brits were there. Why do I have... Let me make sure I have 20 things on the board total. 18 including with those added on. So this may be part of the problem. I can only count like 15 of their towns. Oh, what's this? Oh, do I have the French right? Is this a big one? That's a big one. I think I did the French wrong too. Fuck. This is hard. Finding, you know, whose piece it is underneath one of these rebellion counters. It wouldn't, I don't know. The board's so crowded. I was going to say, well, you can kind of do that like you would with counters. Of course, that's less stable with wooden pieces. The best way to count the total number of things you have on the board is to count how many are in the tray. I got 20 in the tray, so I've got the board set up correctly. Whatever's on the physical board and whatever's on there add up to the right amount. Spain actually handled their debt relatively well. They have a fairly high income. The amount of debt, well, they still ended up with a good 15, 16 bucks left over, which will allow them to start, you know, putting a sinking fund together, as long as they don't engage in massive operations. You know, here, the massive operation they engaged in was preparation for a war to take advantage of the Italian situation. Well, I never managed to get a hold of that and ended up spending cubes and money that I didn't need to. I got a galley fleet, which I brought in under cut costs. This is kind of neat. You're allowed to suck your ship back in. This guy stands up. All right, so I screwed up. Another thing, I've been forgetting about the imperial elections. Now this is an advanced rule, but I intend to play with it. Whenever the emperor is replaced or discarded, an imperial election has to be held. The PR with the most votes from electors areas becomes this. It's whoever has the most cubes gets the vote from that area. The electors' regions are not trivial to see. They're these. It is pretty clear to me that the Austrians are keeping this. It's the PR that has the most elector areas, the PR that has the most cubes, including imperial cubes. An elector area gets the vote from that. Any elector with no NPR provinces where all vassals belong to a single PR will vote for that PR. A PR that has its capital in an elector gets the vote from that area. Otherwise, the elector area does not vote. That's interesting. So if Austria gains Bohemia, They actually neutralize the vote. I remember something weird going on about that. It may have something to do with the Palatinate's claim. No, he has his own electorship. Yeah, I'm not absolutely certain. But anyway, it's an abstracted system, but it may be attempting to represent certain aspects there. Anyhow, I don't think it's been an issue yet. It's not like in EU where the imperial election comes up, and I believe it's an event, not by death of the emperor, which is really kind of twisted. This makes a lot more sense, but there were a couple of key points where the electorate was in question. I like this system better where, it's based on the emperor's death. It's highly unlikely, with the emperor's extra cubes and whatnot, for him to get knocked out of the position, but for his family to get knocked out. But, how would I go with an NP? So I don't like the idea of an NPR elector getting rid of the elections entirely. Here's what I would do with that. All neutrals, all things that wouldn't be casting a vote, will cast a vote for the non-player realm. The idea there being the non-player realm is weak enough, that if somebody abandons Austria, or if one of the other realms takes over and a player doesn't want that realm, they're considered weak enough that the other electors are really actually very happy. That's kind of how the Habsburgs gained power, is they were incredibly weak, but we're elevated to this position, and then of course they got the prestige of the position. What the hell am I stuck at? See, this is so fucking hard, and it's just a space issue, trying to deal with the rules on this side of the board. I could shift, but then I don't have enough room over there either. My solution when I'm not trying to read the rules. Of course, if the Austrians had an army or if more of these were covered, it would be even harder. Now there was something. Oh yeah, why was I looking in the rules? Well, I don't know what happens with this. I think it goes away because I'm at peace, but I don't know when it happens, and I haven't run into it yet. And this is one of the things I get in a problem with these highly procedural systems, right? And all systems have a strong procedural element to them. But this one, I feel like I'm following the cookbook too many times. And it lessens, if anything, my capability to deal with those kind of procedural lists. It's just step by step by step, little steps, all of them requiring lookups and whatnot. I don't feel like the same applied to the old EU, but it may have in the early plays. It really may have. It's hard to tell, but I can tell you, there's a few games where it really grates on me. And it's doing it on this one. It did it on Axis Empires. Little less so in Unconditional Surrender, which was designed by I can't even remember his name. He's a really nice guy. One of the guys who was involved in the Axis Empires team. But yeah, when you start presenting rules in that very step-by-step type basis, and the only way you can keep track of them is by following the steps, it's harder to remember. It's, it's like a recipe, from a cookbook. It just, when you start working that way, it's not the same, and I'm more likely to skip a step when you give me a rule set that's very, very clearly step by step, right? Than I am one that's more amorphous, and I think the old EU one was more amorphous, where I almost have to build a narrative to make the turn work. And I may still miss something, and I may never get it back, right? But I'm happy never getting it back, because I'll never know, right? Here, I'm constantly finding, oh shit, I missed this, or what the fuck's going on with this, and I have to find it. And here, I just have no idea when this is removed. And it might be important. A second later, I see it, it's down here, remove any tag units. So it doesn't really trigger anything. It just goes away because we're at peace. The Austrians for a long time for various reasons, but one of the things was their extra cube that they get for the Imperial Authority. I didn't have quite enough to do that. I could have discarded this. I don't want to do that because that I can use to more cheaply increase stability, although my cubes don't really look like they align well with that. But I removed Ron here from Bavarian Swabia. I'm not that impressed. That doesn't look like a terribly valuable place for me to have a cube. So I'm like, okay, screw it. Let's get one of the diplomatic cubes out of the way. We'll try to cash in some of the ones we have, like Hungary and stuff. But if we can't, we can't. But, you know, those feel important, and I kind of want to keep them on the board. I feel this one was a lot less important, and this one may be a lot less important too, although that does count towards Venice, which might be of importance to me because I have a marriage but not an alliance. Oh, God. I have to lean in and read certain counters on the board. There's a lot that's very demonstrative, but not everything. All right. We need to deal with my addiction for a little bit, but it's run up and down. Continuing its rise, decent amount of cubes available. Not great, but decent. Huge cash reserves. And the only papal controller, with other people declining and them increasing, they're up in the running again for points. I don't feel like their country's in great shape, but it's in better shape than it was by a lot. I haven't done this yet. I'm going to need to improve my administrative capabilities to do that. I didn't need these cubes, so they might as well stay there. That provides me a bonus as long as it's there. All right, take the papal bonus of a thingy. What other things did I get? Yeah, I never remember this, but I didn't take it. And the stability bonus, nice. I forget about that as well, but that could be really helpful. I'd love to get a couple extra cubes a turn, if I can support them. Turkey, looking okay. Cubes are in the right places and everything. Stability's even. We got I didn't hand out my administrative cubes. It's a good thing that I came back and looked. Otherwise, I would have just left this here, because that's a lot of cubes, you know. But no, I didn't do that. Had to get rid of a cube. Wow, again, a rich selection of cubes. But we saw, hey, that doesn't necessarily do much, right? It may be a built-up edge for when Suleiman the Magnificent finally dies, but I'd kind of rather be cycling through them. I didn't run over my limit. This got, I think, exactly to 10, 3, 5, no, 9. But I did use up all my cubes on that. Now, something we have not done before, which is, and I kind of skipped it, under back here, we had to score the power struggle. And then we remove the tokens, and we'll replace them with the upcoming power struggle. So let's see how this works. I mean, we've already looked at what it does. Active power struggle will be scored, when a power struggle is scored, all players who satisfy the condition will get Ps as described below. Each battleground area, tax value of provinces you control, being the only PR with a town or vassal, gives you an additional 1, and having at least 1 royal marriage or alliance. All right, let's work our way up. So here, tax value, Naples apparently got smaller. I kind of remember that happening. So they're worth 3 plus 1 for the only one. That'll be 4 points. And yeah, here Poland's not going to do so well because they're not near Italy. England's not going to do so well either, but we're not too worried about them. Okay, next one up, going up here, there were no points for this. Ooh. You know, hold on. Let me score the bonus points for the additional criteria and the penalties first before I do these standard points. Okay, so the papal controller scores 2 if France, Castile, or Austria, oh, well, Poland may get some. If France, Castile, or Austria has claims in fewer than 2 of these areas, no, papal controller just scores 2. Okay. There's a period after that, right? Yeah. If France, Castile, or Austria has towns in fewer than 2 of these areas, okay, this is going to be problematic. France has this. They have less than 2 because Burgundy went all to hell on them. Well, it's by area, so I would have needed to be in another area, which I am not anyway. So France loses 3. Yeah, we're dropping into the hole. Okay, Castile. Castile has a lot of vassals in Italy. Does this help? No, it has to be actual possessions. Castile has no possessions. And finally, Austria. Austria has a possession here, possession there. Austria is not penalized. Okay. Now we do what we were doing. So let's work our way up. Here, Austria has a possession. That's worth 1. Spain has an alliance. That's worth 1. Austria is the only player with a possession in central Italy. That's worth 1. Here, Austria has a possession. They're the only player with one, and they have a marriage. Is marriage one of the things? I think it was. Yes. For Venice. Over here, France has an alliance. Up here, France has a possession, and they're the only player with a possession. I'm not counting the rebellions. I don't think those are going to count if you don't have them. Spain has a... Wait, I only moved them up 1. Spain has a marriage. Over here, Austria has a possession, only person with a possession, and an alliance. Yeah, we're going to see. I'm not going to be able to give you the overall impact here, but there should be one more. Flanders should have one. Yeah, there it is. Okay. All right. Spain has 3 possessions that they still control. England has 1. Hey, look, we're involved. No one has any marriages or anything like that. Breda is not controlled. Okay. Now, as a sanity check, we check what we got. Flanders and Wallonia, Rhineland, Burgundy, Lombardy. Why do I have so many? Venetia, Central Italy, and Naples. I got an extra one. What did I score that I shouldn't have? Flanders and Wallonia, okay. The Rhineland, that's here. Burgundy, that was here. Lombardy, okay. Venice. What's this? I think this is not an extra area. This is part of northern Italy, part of Lombardy. I think. Jesus, I can't tell. No, this is part of Central Italy. Okay. So, nobody was penalized for Central Italy, were they? So yeah, I just placed an extra thing out for Central Italy. Okay, fair enough. I'll put this here, although I feel confused. I looked at the unused ones. I think there was just a random selection of these, but I don't know why there's only like 4. Like if I run out of them, I would kind of want more to show up. So I don't remember what the setup is. Struggle for the Balkans. Hungarian plane. This is obviously not going to be very big for things like France and Spain and England. And it's kind of interesting because there's an opportunity to make points. Some people lost. I think France lost points overall. Spain may have lost points as well. But Austria made up a lot of ground off of it. Royal Hungary. Dalmatia. See, this is why marching up this way was kind of nice, because Turkey was involved in it. They had their way towards Venice. We got to keep looking. Croatia and Bosnia. It's got to be here. No, that's Serbia. Okay. Serbia and Albania. And Moldavia. Really? That feels wrong. Hungarian plane, Royal Hungary, Dalmatia, Croatia, and Bosnia. Serbia and Albania, and Moldavia, yeah. So one of them is way over there, where the Poles used to have some power. I think we're at the end of the turn. This is so painful. Trying to figure out where I am after, because I kind of skipped out of phase here. I did all these. Okay, everybody's got to discard down to 5 cards. I don't think anybody's got anywhere near that many. And then we'd hit the end of age routine. We're not there. Unlike previous times, I am not going to start the card draw phase in this turn. I'm going to keep turns aligned with what they are, as we try to align things without enough hands. So at the end of this, we had a war between France and Austria that was sparked by France going to war with Savoy. We had the Turks go to war with Venice, and they won that war, but they got some dissent because they haven't, they had some rebellions because they haven't had the time to consolidate their empire. And that's really something that's hurting a lot of people. Spain was preparing for war. They didn't consolidate properly. They also had the revolt in the Low Countries, well, unrest in the Low Countries or whatever, event come up, which is, certainly was going to cause them problems no matter what. England was trying to recover. I think this is the turn they converted to Protestantism, and that the nation is not Protestant. Henry VIII just decided, I want that money. If enough religious revolts happen, he could turn back to Catholic, and have seized the monasteries and everything's all good, right? Yeah, but England's failing miserably ever since their war. And Poland has recouped a position where, they're beginning to look to be in the running in terms of being a functional nation. Maybe they're not up there with the big boys, France, Spain, and Turkey. England's gotten a big slap in the face. Austria feels like they haven't really been hitting on all cylinders, but Poland has no problems. Everybody else has problems. Austria doesn't, but they will, I'm pretty sure. I mean, they have a little bit, but not much. And you can see it's reflected in the prestige values. They made a lot of ground up. And now we're looking at the Balkans. We could see Poland beginning to build up to spring forward for that. I want to look at one thing. I'll be back in a moment before I hang this one up, because I'm curious how that power struggle deck was created. Have different recommended power struggle deck compositions. Some scenarios will suggest them to be sorted in a specific order, while others may suggest randomized. They can be placed up with the face up. Okay. Did this scenario? I'm sure the scenario told me. And they give me the order of them. Say you may want to randomize. What I want to do is I want to create a truly randomized game. Okay? So certain power struggles were left out. What was left out? Well, they kind of make sense. The Great Northern War. But if somebody's Russia or somebody's Sweden later in the campaign, that should be available. Distant trade. That's going to be a focus on, it looks like mainly in the Far East. The Holy League. I don't know what this is meant to represent, but it's basically a stopping the spread of Islam. Would make sense in this scenario. Not sure why it's not there. The Deluge is, I don't know what. Poland loses. This might be the partitioning of Poland, which again, you know, the thoughts that I'm having, which revolve around being able to shift countries and whatnot, make it feel like all the power struggles should be in the deck. I don't think the Grand Campaign would support all of them. It doesn't make it makes a lot of sense to me that the Italian wars, we can look at the order because they were pre-selected, although I would rather not be thinking about them too much, but struggle for the Balkans. So the Italian wars, they really opened up that 1492 scenario era and came in about the right time. Let's look at the next one. The next one's the 30 Years' War. Makes sense. Certainly after the struggle for the Balkans, which is the big Ottoman advantage. War of Spanish Succession makes sense, but you know, there's some big gaps in here, right? 7 Years' War, again, makes sense for that Western European power. And then the Napoleonic Wars, yeah. You know, there's more than one per era, but not a lot more. And so, how many was that total? We did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So in 8 periods total, right? Because there's 4 eras, each is split in half. There could be triggers in there could be a trigger in every single deck. Possibly. If we randomize the decks more, that could be a little bit more iffy. There could be I don't know. But this is really definitely tailored towards these more Western powers, tailored towards Muscovy not being in the game, for example. And I think if Muscovy is in the game, a different selection makes sense, and it's probably already pre-programmed in. Oh, there's my battery thing. I know it's lying to me there. See? And this battery is running down, so I'm going to have to put another one in there. in the other camera. That one up there. I gotta get rid of these cameras. Two of them, they just don't work, but at least they're both fixable, I think, which is kind of the problem. I've taken one apart and tried to fix it, but couldn't. Okay. Let us send this up then. And I'm ignoring my addiction, unfortunately, which is not good.